What's up, Starcraft fans? Today we're doing the tier list for Dodge This on Scythe of Amon. Brian, let's hear the mutation.
Scythe of Amon is the map where we have to destroy 5 void slivers pre-placed on the map before timer runs out. Each void sliver we destroy adds more time, and gives more powers to the remaining ones.
Alright.
Nukes and orbital strikes fall randomly on the map. And fog of war is disabled.
Cool. So we have Tutu and Stixbender all the call with us today. Tutu and Stixbender, how are you guys? Great.
Doing good.
Sure, let's go with
Ready
that.
to go.
Ready to go.
Ready for madness.
Ready for madness. I'm hoping for that. Tutu, how are we going to rank commanders this week?
So darkness is not really a factor because it's only the attack waves. They come from either the west side or the north side, and you can check the first 4 waves are more or less fixed. The first one's random, but then the second, third, and fourth you will know where they come from. Then from 16 minutes, you just check the area west of the expo, and if they are there, then you defend there. If they're not, then they're coming from the north. You're just going around dodging nukes and orbital strikes. If you can do a lot of damage with a small army, you'll take less damage.
How about you, Stixbender?
Basically, it's the ideal situation here is that you have commanders who can bonk the shard while sitting at home on one base and not really having to commit anything except for like top bar or a few units that are like incredibly capable of vaporizing the shard without having to pick too much of a fight.
I don't think one base is necessary, but yeah.
I mean, one base isn't necessary, but the expansion isn't necessary, and it's definitely not going to make it easier.
But if you have it, then you get more stuff.
That's true. That is undeniably
You have
true.
to defend.
And you basically when after the 12:30 wave, you sit at the natural, and then when 16-minute wave hits, you check the left. If they're not there, then you like walk home. And by the time you walk home, the enemy still won't be there yet. If they are at the coming from the west side, then you're already there waiting.
I do find it a little amusing to imagine all the people like, all right, that sounds like a plan, and then they try to walk home and they get nuked on the way home.
But you're like looking at yourself. You're looking at your army while you're walking home.
Yes,
Yeah.
you can't have to babysit
There's nothing
that.
else happening at the time.
Yes. Anyway, let's begin. Abathur, where do we have him?
He's probably the worst one this week because, but I mean, everyone's gonna do decently well except Abathur. Like his late game is fine, but his early game is pretty much like your toxic nests are gonna get hit by orbital strikes and nukes, and it's really hard to lure. If you can get a quick brutalist, great, but it'll take some time and a lot of dodging to do so. If you don't lure, you might do like close to no damage to the first shard, and you'll need your ally to take care of the first shard. Otherwise, you're not. Yeah, and you're going to contribute very little. So I put him in C.
How about you, Stixbender?
I think that, like, as usual, I have the usual thing of, like, I think we're slightly underestimating how much he can do without luring, but also, yeah, the first shard is pretty nasty.
Pretty critical.
If you don't have an ultimate evolution. Trying to get that DPS is pretty brutal.
It's brutal +1.
I'm fine with seeing Abathur in C. He has no particularly good way of sniping shards without interacting with the map.
Is there a merit to the strategy where you just get the first prestige essence hoarder and get 7 devourers and just right-click the shards?
That's a late game strat.
Yes.
Yeah,
just survive.
No, the thing is, that works fine with the single problem of shard number 1.
Yes.
You are not helping.
Shard number
very
1
much.
is the most critical one, I think, for that strategy.
Yes.
You need your ally to carry you on shard 1.
Normally, if I use like P3 and I don't have enough DPS for the first shard, I would build spores around it. But then with the environmental mutators, you can't build around it. Without losing them.
If you go for the expansion shard first, I think the expansion shard is a mutator safe zone. So I think you can build spores around it.
Well, you would need to get drones through the center and your like roach or something, and you have to build and they have to let you like build.
True. That's true.
It's awkward, but it's possible at that point.
It's definitely not something I can recommend to average players. So yeah, I have no problems with C.
Yeah.
I don't think he's bad. I just think like this is pretty
mediocre.
easy. There's got to be a way to distinguish between him and the others.
Alarak, where do we have him?
With Mothership, you kind of interact with mutators. Early shards are fine. Your mothership by itself doesn't need any support to beat it, so that makes it easy to dodge nukes. You just have one unit. Later shards are going to need to add in destroyers, which is going to make life considerably more awkward, because you are going to need to have a much larger army, even though it's all an air army, so they can all stack on top of each other, doing lots and lots of dodging. You have prisms to help snipe shards with structure overcharge on the prisms. You can sneak prisms around the back, overcharge them, and let them pummel away. But ultimately, it's basically, I think, with Alarak going to be a matter of, with each passing shard, it becomes increasingly inconvenient to try to kill said shard.
So, letter.
I think he probably goes somewhere in B.
B.
But I'd be okay seeing him in C.
How about you, Tutu?
Alarak's shard sniping method doesn't work because of the environmental mutators. I don't recommend using a warp prism, even when there are no environmental mutators, because the death grip crystal will choke it to death. And then, yeah. So normally use a...
Range that.
I've done this. I've tried doing this many times. I found out that bringing a probe and making pylons is much safer. Basically, you double overcharge, and then you have an invisible havoc, and you snipe down everything around the shard, and then the shard. But this, it's not that great because you might get nuked, then your plan will fail. So you gotta pretty much fight. Yeah, so you're gonna have to dodge a lot of stuff, and if you're not careful, you're gonna lose stuff. I put Alarak in B.
I used the first prestige here and just mass Wrathwalkers. Did you remember that, Tutu?
I don't remember what you were doing.
I thought it went fine for me.
You have to be careful about like the Wrathwalkers getting nuked when they're walking.
My logic is I'll just keep my entire camera on my main army. It's okay if I lose reinforcing Wrathwalkers one by one rather than lose my entire main army. So I just rally them straight to my group of Wrathwalkers. If they get there, great. If not, just rally the next one in. I don't disagree with B either. I'm just saying that's what I used. Arcturus, where do we have him?
The normal bunker sniping method is probably not going to work. I don't recommend using it. You're going to suffer a lot of losses if you keep trying to rebuild, or you're going to draw aggro if you build in the wrong place, and it gets really annoying to try to do that. So I recommend nuking the top left one and then use ESOs on the other ones from the natural.
The classic. Jeez.
However, you can't hit the top middle shard if you unless you like build in the northern expo. So if your ally takes that base, then you're gonna have no space, which means you just have to nuke another one, which is fine.
That's
but it's
also
slower.
fine. Yes.
Yeah. So I put him in A.
How about you, Stickspender?
Here I thought he was an obvious S because
I thought the same.
Because it is it's a pretty straightforward defense.
It's Sky the Vaemon! Arcturus!
Yes, Manx does not have a difficult defense here, to say the least. Like, you don't need ESOs at all, technically. You just use them to be faster and more convenient.
Exactly.
Realistically, the bigger value of ESOs than being able to snipe shards, which you could just kill with nukes anyways, is that they vaporize any ground units from attack waves long before the attack waves ever reach you. Plus, they let you scout for the attack waves, before they reach you with darkness. Honestly, for the average player, I'd probably never really recommend bunkers for the average player anyways. If Manx ever got in the situation of like, you have to use the bunkers because non-bunker methods won't work, I would not really recommend Manx for most players.
Bunker strategy is always there, but I agree. The classic Earth Splitter cheese where you just delete the expansion shard first, build Earth Splitters from there, and while you're getting mandate, your first 100 mandate goes to nukes on the top left, and try to get that as your at least second or third. The fourth or fifth do survive nuclear annihilation. Earth Splitters can kill the rest of them.
One note is that Manx is especially someone where I would discourage the expansion because of the fact that, like, firstly, the main base ramps are quite good choke points, and you're able to take advantage of the fact that you can just set up all your bunkers in those two areas and call it a day. And it gives maximum distance for your ESOs to make sure that every single ground unit just dies.
If you can't reach the furthest two shards using Earth Splitters, you nuke them both?
Yeah, you nuke them both. Again, you literally don't need Earth Splitters to clear shards. Nukes are enough by themselves if you want to just use nukes.
My only concern with that
doesn't die. Sometimes.
The very last one dies only if you have the full mastery for it, was it? Or was it?
No, it's a luck thing because it depends where the missiles hit.
My only concern with having all your splitters in the main, yeah, you might not actually be able to stop your ally from killing the 2 close shards first. That's my only concern.
I guess if your ally insists on expanding, then you can go and build ESOs there.
Oh, that's not my concern. My concern is with the ally who rushes the bonus. Therefore, he goes for the furthest east one first, and then the expansion second. That's the kind of allies I normally get on Sky of the Faemon, by the way. I still think he's S, but we have a rule here. If it's not unanimous, it's not S. So if Tutu's not convinced, we unfortunately have to put him down to A.
I don't think you have to. I usually drop a lot of bunkers because the mutators require you to use the mandate efficiently. But I remember for this one, you don't need to. So you actually can just sit there and wait and just like tell yourself not to drop bunkers and you'll get. So then 5-minute cooldown would be like Artanis' solar bombardment. So in that sense, then yeah, I think that would work. I think I just dropped too many bunkers, so I don't use the nuke as much as I should, because usually I don't need the nuke to kill.
I think what happened with you, Tutu, is that you kind of wanted to go speedrunner on this. That's why you didn't think of doing it, because it was boring to you.
It just
can
never
be a little
crossed
bit,
my mind.
Sure, if you want to say that, sure. So S for Arcturus?
I think, yeah.
Oh yeah,
That's-
if you're really concerned about the Far Shard being the last one, by the way, you could just like add up Pride of Augustgrad or 2 to jump in and Yamato spam the shard if it survives the nukes, because it's not like there's going to be very many defenders around the shard. You just nuked them all into oblivion. So you just nuke and then instantly jump in, Yamato spam the shard, and it dies.
That one didn't occur to me. That's good. Artanis, where do we have him?
Same deal as Manx, solar bombardment on all the shards. An advantage of Artanis is that, Manx might have to actually worry about like watching his mandate spending early game if he wants to have nukes at 5 minutes. Artanis doesn't have to worry about that. There's no energy cost in solar bombardment. You just cast solar bombardment. You will have on the base defense front, you can have a Archon drop if you're P3 for every single attack wave, or otherwise you can have an shield overcharge if you're not P3, which is still a really, really strong tool for fighting waves. You basically just sit home with extremely strong IDEF purely because of the fact that you can freely use top bar on it, because solar bombardment will kill the first 2 shards. The 3rd shard, if you place it very precisely on the middle, it'll kill it by itself, but you'll probably end up needing a solar bombardment plus orbital strikes. And then for the last 2 shards, either if you've been using P3, then Archon drop should probably be able to do mostly enough damage, maybe warp in a few Reavers with them to right-click the shard before they die, or more likely a few Tempests to disintegrate/shoot at the shard for maximum range. I would lean towards putting him in S tier, but I could see A tier purely because you have to put a little bit more effort into the last 2 shards if your ally is able to contribute absolutely nothing.
How about you, Tutu?
I don't think you have to do that much. You just warp in like 4 Dragoons and you right-click the shard, and then it dies.
Yeah.
If you are carrying and you have more confidence because you're carrying, then you should use P3. If you have less confidence, then you should use P0. Then you
So
have
Guardian Shell.
Guardian Shell in case your Observer or like your Dragoons get hit. Then you can just like shoot a bit more. But the strategy will be the same. And with I learned while playing with as Artanis that the enemy, the Amon's mutator orbital strike only activates or only hits when there are 3 or more units that it can hit or that can target. So if you only have 1 observer on the map, you won't get hit by orbital strikes, and you can just like keep your observer in the dead space, the nukes won't hit it either, and you can just wait. But
Cool.
that requires your ally to not do anything either.
That's
I
really
mean, not
cool.
be out there. So yeah, I put Artanis in S.
All right. Dehaka, where do we have him?
Dehaka does the usual creeper hole sniping. You can hit
really
all
good.
the slivers, all the shards, except the top left one. But I killed the top left one by
First.
summoning a greater primal worm and then then Glevig. And then I killed it as the first or second. And then the other ones, you can just creeper hole snipe them. And so you just press control click your creeper holes, then press
Right-click
C, then control click your locust, and then right click the sliver, and then do that several times and they'll die. So I put Dehaka in A. Pack leaders will take care of all the waves.
Why not S?
The S people are easier than this.
How about you, Stixbender?
Because you can't reach the top left that easily unless you like know it, or so
the other problem with S for him is your creepers from the creeper hosts can get nuked, and that would cause complications.
Cool. Fenix, where do we have him?
So Phoenix is probably going to be having a slightly awkward time with the whole shard sniping thing. Technically, you can use Arbiter Suit with either Angry Zealot or you can use Mass Scout. Remember that, of course, when you put one of Amon's detectors in stasis, it ceases to be a detector as long as it stays in stasis. Problem with that is that if you... Firstly, if you roll Protoss enemies, they have photon cannons on this mission, which
Cannot
is
be
a bit
stasis.
random feeling, but okay. And the photon cannons that Protoss enemies show up with cannot be stasis, correct, as you said. Problem number 2 is that your guys could die really, really fast if a detector shows up and you don't see it and you're like spending a few seconds trying to figure out where the detector is, and then everything's dead. Either way, no amount of cloaking will protect you from environmental mutators, so
Yes.
no matter what you do, it's going to be awkward.
How about you, Tutu?
He's gonna be like a front door army-based commander, and like, yeah, you probably want to like keep your shells at the natural.
Yes.
And then you have to avoid using F2A, and you're still dodging a lot. Still strong. You can mass carriers or something and still do the job. So I put him in B.
Or front door be done. There we go. Han and Horner, where do we have him?
Han Horner is another army-based commander, so same deal. You just want to use your call downs. You start off the fight with a call down, so like you drop a space station or a call in the fleet, kill some of the big stuff or damage them, then go in with your army of battle cruisers or Reaper, carrier, galleons, whatever you want. But you're gonna be basically fighting from the front door. So also B.
Also B. Poor Abathur. How about you, Sixbender?
I don't really like fighting from the front door with Han and Horner here. I would prefer to just use pure Horner units and like snipe from the back. But either way, yeah, you're using your top bar to soften things up. You use your army to actually try and kill the shard, while trying not to pick huge fights with said army. Yeah, B makes sense.
I actually have him in C, but B is fine also. Karax, where do we have him?
He's S tier again. Do I need to explain why? You shoot the rocks from the sky. You build buildings at home so you don't die.
Hey, that rhymes.
It's very self-explanatory.
Hey, that rhymes. Okay, Tutu, why not S?
What if you like lose observers? It's basically you got to be dodging.
So Tutu and I were actually discussing this earlier. I said that you can just have observers in the corner, and you just pull them in one by one to the shards that you want to snipe if you lose the observer giving vision. Then he said that Amon will just orbital strike your observers. And then later on, during the discussion, he revealed that Amon needs 2 or rather 3 units to start orbital striking. So now he just gave me a counter argument again. Just have 2 observers there waiting, so it won't get orbital struck. If you lose an observer, Q1, rally in the same spot, and then pull the one that's already on there to the spot where you want to orbital strike the shard.
If you're using P3, you're not going to have enough time because you can't chrono the observer. If you're rallying around the side, then you're going to have more than 3 at some point, and you have an ally who's probably going to like walk around and set off orbital strike. So yeah, the patrolling thing can work, but if you lose your unity barrier and it gets nuked or like gets hit by orbital strike when you're not looking, then
I think we're kind of having too much bad RNG forced upon Karax. I don't think it'll make him
You're
lose.
basically saying you're going to get nuked, but not just once, twice you're going to get nuked. And the observer is going to die horribly because it was nuked twice.
And I still maintain that the energy regen, once you have +3 solar efficiency, is fast enough that you can outpace the shield regen on the shard, even if you have to rally a new observer there. I don't know. I think so, at least.
Yeah, I mean, on that front, like, if the observer dies, then yeah. I mean, realistically, once you start shooting, remember, Orbital Strike gives vision for like a split second. So as long as you keep spam clicking Orbital Strike, once you start shooting, it doesn't even matter if the observer dies.
That's what I told Tutu.
The
strategy
Plus, you're using Purifier Beam on every shard, and Purifier Beam gives vision for a whole 20 seconds. Like once you
Yes.
start firing, it's over for Amon. It doesn't matter if the observer's gone.
I think the window is 0.3 seconds, so you just shoot thrice every second, and you'll eventually regen enough energy that you'll eventually even snipe the last shard, even if you lose the observer just after you started firing. I think it's that simple. Just defend.
Plus, if you are P3, you just straight up have enough energy to kill the shard. The first pass, like you just hold down Orbital Strike and it dies.
Yeah, you can even make units. Gasp! If you have that much money. I think he's S, but ultimately, again, if it's not unanimous, it's not S. What do you think, Tutu?
I don't think are you expecting other people to know how to to do this? Know all the all the backup plans?
I think
to do this in case.
I think all they need
I
to
think
know.
that they don't have to know any backup plans.
I think all they need
I
to
think
know.
that they have to know you shoot the rock and it dies, and it does die.
And you don't.
What if you go in with not enough energy?
I think most people, when they're told to do this, the problem is usually that they wait too long because it's like you're waiting until literally max energy. That's making it tighter than it has to be.
I think that's
You run out of time.
I think that's more people's problem, the waiting on too much energy thing, rather than going in too soon.
But my point is, people don't usually go in with not enough energy. At least not in my experience.
Yeah, I agree with Sixbender here. From my experience. Maybe I'm watching the wrong people, but the problem with people is usually that they don't use the top bars enough, not that they use it too much. Plus, Unity Barracks is pretty good. You get nuked once, and you still have the observer there. I don't know. Okay, one more, Tutu. Are you convinced for S or not?
No.
All right. So, Sixbender and I both agree with S, but Tutu says no, so...
Compared to Artanis, where you go in, use solar, and you warp in 3 units, you don't have to keep looking. You don't have to worry about anything. You don't have to worry about calculating anything.
All right. Yeah, you don't have to. Yeah, you don't have to defend not S. You just have to say I'm not convinced. Then that's not unanimous. Therefore, not S. Kerrigan, where do we have him?
Kerrigan is she's army based, but she has Omega Worms, so she can hide if necessary. Plus, she has Immobilization Wave, which if you're not P2, you can kill almost everything around the shard, and then everything comes out and finishes the shard. Yeah, so I put her in A.
How about you, Sixbender?
So basically, your plan is you run in, you cast Mobilization Wave, and then
surprise army in the face.
Surprise army. Yeah.
Just make sure not to deploy your army when you see the big red circle around their Omega Worms.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, my one concern with Kerrigan is not anything to do with charge. It's air units, but it sounds
reasonable. It's just my concern is it might be B, not A, but
I'm okay with B or A. Originally had her in B, but no problems whatsoever on A.
Because of air?
Yeah, because of air.
My worry is because of army that could just get
blue farted.
Loading back into the worms can be really awkward when you suddenly get obliterated by Amon's top bar.
Ultralisk will have a second life at least.
We have one life, yes. What about second life?
Yeah. Well, if it's the big one that I'm worried about is that a lot of times what I experience with worms is that if you're being lazy about it, you pop up your worms, you pop out your army, and now for the first time in the long while, you actually have a valid orbital strike target. So instantly orbital strike starts going down on your worms.
You can get hit by orbital strike a few shots and it's okay. Ultras will live through it, and Hydras, they might be damaged, but they won't. You might lose a few.
It's 2 orbital strike shots to kill a Hydra and 6 to kill an Ultra. 5, but they regen 1 hit point during it. So
if you attack the left sliver and it's the 16-minute wave, you might accidentally kill all the stop the hybrid from spawning because you kill all the dropships. Now that immobilization wave is fixed.
But you have to actually one-shots prisms now and overlords.
You have to know that it's coming from there, though.
No, it's just it could be a coincidence, but it's not
Yeah,
Nice
it doesn't hurt.
coincidence.
Definitely doesn't hurt.
True.
She might be top of B.
Also, no problem
Yeah.
with B.
She's like either B plus or A minus, basically.
Nova, where do we have him?
So Nova can snipe shards with Liberator. Liberator go pew on the shards and they explode. You just fly. Basically, you fly around with Liberators, you snipe shards, and then other than that, you stay at home and defend. And it's pretty straightforward with that.
Just don't get
yeah.
nuked.
Just dodge Lamau. Basically, do exactly what the mutator name tells you to, and dodge everything.
Yes.
So, I think she's probably A tier.
Really?
She has to actually use units to snipe the shard, but
the way you describe Nova strategy sounds like pretty much how Kerrigan what Kerrigan would have to avoid, getting her entire army nuked and orbital struck.
The difference is that Nova's army is a couple of small number of stacked on top of each other long range air units, which are able to be almost on unpathable terrain as they shoot the shard.
They're
instead
also
of being right in the middle of pathable terrain, right under the shard.
They can also
Range
get
of everything.
immediately deleted by death grip crystals if you get that second.
I think you're gonna kill the shard before the crystal kills you.
That fast?
That depends.
If the death grip crystal is your second shard, can you kill the void sliver before the crystal kills you?
I would go in the second with a nuke.
Oh, you wait that long?
The 10-minute nuke?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I
You
can
definitely can wait for that. Yeah.
You can even you can actually go infiltration specialist, so you actually can see where the stuff are coming from. But if you're a liberator, so yeah, maybe Soldier of Fortune is still better. But yes, you're going with A. How about you? How about you, Tutu?
I put same thing. I put her in A. Same
Alright.
strategy, and you can airlift out or to dodge a nuke if you're out of position, and you can use the defensive drone to tank orbital strikes.
All right, Raynor, where do we have him?
Raynor is like Han and Horner. You kind of do the same thing. You lead with a Hyperion, maybe with Duskwings too, and then you teleport with battle cruisers. I did this with P3 and P1 just to see, and yeah, you pretty much do the same thing. Army based, so B.
Okay, how about you, Sixbender?
Yeah, I can see Jimmy once again landing in the wow, I'm so much like Han and Horner boat. I think B makes sense for that.
I was thinking of the strategy where you just sit in your base, mass air units, and just spam the Hyperion. I think the Hyperion, if you're able to spam it, can actually defeat the Void Shards, especially if you go to reverse order.
I think if you manage to max out completely, yeah.
I was thinking that you could just kind of have the Hyperion pretty much always available. Which I think, well, yeah, it could still be B. It could still be B, but maybe a high B, right?
Yeah, okay, something like that.
Something like that. But yeah, point is, he's not exactly like Han and Horner.
He's not exactly like Han and Horner, but he's a lot like Han and Horner.
A lot like Han and Horner. Stetboy, where do we have him?
Stetmann. So if you want to use army, you can because your Zerglings don't care about getting nuked.
Yes.
Wow. Gotta love Zerglings. Stetmann Zerglings.
You have
so
to.
silly as always. And then there's Stetmann's also got his Corruptors are able to spit on shards if you want to use that shard cheesing method where you just get overcharged Steadilite on top of the shard. From Steadilite overcharge, you send in Super Gary and the Corruptors spit, you have Hugs overload, and hey look, the shard's dead. Because your Corruptors take like a million years to actually get shot down at that point because as it turns out, Hugs overload is really silly.
You can also go front door.
It's sort of front door. It's closer to Liberator than
So more
most
like
of the other
backdoor.
Yeah.
Not snipe, but backdoor.
Yes, something like that. Yeah.
So letter.
Letter. I think Statman's A probably.
Okay. How about you, Tutsu?
He is definitely the best army-based commander because he doesn't care. You don't have to do anything different from
Yes.
usual. You just play like you normally do, and I think S, A both make sense to me. Like A because he's army. I put him in S, but I don't have any problems with A.
I don't have any problems with S either because he's that boy. I originally have an A.
I do have argument for S, which is that I got all 3 bonuses too.
That sounds great.
It's so easy, and he has so much. He's so strong that I got all 3 bonuses plus everything.
Does that convince you, Six-Bender, or still A?
Yeah, I can see S.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right, step one S. Stukov, where do we have him?
So I used both P1 and P3 just to see the difference, and P3 like you don't care if you get nuked, but you kind of do because it slows you down, but you don't suffer any losses, and your real estate is kind of limited because especially if you have an ally, your bunker space is going to be limited. So P3 is actually not going to be that great. P1 I used Banshees, and then Alexander goes in, steals all their detectors, and Banshees are now invisible and can shoot the shard for free, basically. Both those strategies I think are B level.
How about you, Stixbender?
Yeah, I think I kind of just agree with that. That basically Tutu's got it summed up basically.
Cool.
I think.
Swann, where do we have him?
Swann, he has floating factories. Man, I love floating factories. Yeah, so laser drill can kill the shards. It's very slow, but you can just laser down shards. On top of being able to laser down the shards, which is obviously great, you also have the alternative that you can just delete the shards with wraiths, because as it turns out, if you are careful with cloak wraiths, you can also just snipe them with the power of being invisible. So even if something goes wrong, you do have a backup plan, although the backup plan is much more micro intensive. So basically, he can shard snipe. It's a bit awkward. Obviously, the base defense is easy. You just build buildings, and your buildings are really good. Probably something like A or B. I think A.
How about you, Tutu?
His factory sniping method is even worse than Karax's because the factory has to be like in a very precise position. If you move a little bit forward, you're gonna draw aggro, and if you lose the factory somehow, you're gonna have to like slowly float a factory back to the place.
That's
if you want to like, yeah, it's even slower than an ops.
And there's no.
You can have like extra facts waiting, but I don't think that's a good idea. I think you should just start with wraiths.
There's no Swann upgrade for factory speed.
The closest one is I normally teleport a Herc and mass build a factory, but like, man, if they get caught with their pants down, that's like the SCVs. That's just like gonna set you back a lot.
Yes.
And if you lose vision, the laser retargets stuff, and sometimes the laser will push things away from the shard, which aggroes, which then they'll see the factory, and then that will cause them to fight the factory instead of like just standing there doing nothing. Which is why I don't recommend the sniping strats for this one. I think you should just start with I did P0 Wraith. So you go in with a concentrated beam or pulse cannon, and then you
snipe,
kill everything else. It's much more reliable. I put Swann in B.
All right. Is that okay for you, Stickbender?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's fine.
Tychus, where do we have him?
So Tychus was the other commander where I got all 3 bonuses as well. With I used P3, and yeah, so
Dogwalker.
Dogwalker, drop him you just use him like basically whenever he's off cooldown, and then you destroy everything. And yeah,
That
so
easy?
you only have it's really easy. Plus, you have only a few units, so dodging is pretty easy. And you don't even have to like Odin can just not dodge. He can stay there
You
and keep
just
shooting.
tank it.
Yeah, I put him in S.
Is that better than the second? Is that better than the second prestige than nuking with Bigwood button?
I don't. Well, you can. I don't think you should use second prestige. I mean, you can, I guess, do the SAM sniping or whatever. I don't think that's necessary, but I don't know. I use P3 because I don't like using P2, but I have to use them sometimes, so I use it.
Very sensible. So that's S.
I think any prestige would be S. So
How about you, Sixbender?
I think I can see that. Yeah. He's like Tychus is the other commander who can simply front door and it works.
All right. Vorazun. Where do we have him?
Vorazun. So she's like the other Protoss, but very slightly more steps is basically the deal. So you're just going to ultimately use mass defense strategy while using P3 time stop to just obliterate shards during time stop. If you don't have P3, you can just use oracles or DTs or whatever to dive the shard. The cooldown of emergency recall is the same as the cooldown on your time stop, so you don't have to worry too much about messing up and losing all your dudes.
Yeah. And you can always use Dark Pile and Recall.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you use Dark Pile and Recall to get out. Usually, it's just like if you mess it up, it's fine. You have emergency recall, so you should be fine even if you mess up.
Yes.
And yeah, that's basically. It basically feels like S tier to me. You just defend and let your top bar handle everything.
Do you agree to?
yeah, except this time, like I don't know, I got Oracle harassed again. At my natural, I got Oracle harassed
no.
because they emergency recall to the natural nexus, and then Oracles came, and then I didn't have cannons there, and they started killing my probes.
Wow.
And I was like, "Where are my probes? Oh my god, they died!"
Wait.
And then yeah,
Like I
right,
thought I
that's
had an
right.
economy. Oh wait, never mind.
I
it wasn't
probably
a big deal
won't.
because
I probably
Yeah.
won't suffer the same fate because I like putting dark pylons on everything. I'll probably get a fast 2 gas with the dark pylon.
I'm not sure having dark pylons around your base protects you from Oracle harass, given that Oracles are detectors.
I mean, dark pylons, your workers will just teleport back to your main.
but they still die.
Yeah, the
want
Oracle's
to
just
not
like,
lose
oh
them.
well, I sent you back. I sent you 2 inches to the left. Now I zap you again and you die.
Oh, to the left? Did they teleport to the main?
No, they go to the nexus because you're already there.
Oh, the
They
closest,
go to the nearest
closest
nexus.
Right,
Yes.
right. I thought it was the main.
Which,
oh, wait, anyway.
Makes things a little
Yeah.
awkward.
That notwithstanding, just
I-
put a couple cannons and you're fine.
Yeah, I put Vorazun in S also.
Without
So.
prestige, I don't think it's without prestige, right? Not
I
S.
think it's like A. If I mean, you probably do the same thing, but it's more work.
Sure. Just time stop
Yeah.
and then right click the shard with your army. Zagara,
Yes.
where do we have him?
P1 enthusiasts rejoice. This is a great map for P1. Great mutation for P1. You do like the same thing Dehaka does, and you instead of making creeper hosts, you
Make
control
Scourge.
click all your scourge and you guide them to their destination. So you want to snipe everything from the left side. Well, I would kill the left shard, the 8 o'clock one, as soon as possible because they have Thors. So like I would kill that second. So before they have too many units there, and then the other ones you can just go in from the. Well,
From the
the 12
northwest.
o'clock one, you go in from the bottom, and then the top left one, you go in from the top left. So you fly to the north, you go all the way left, and then you go in. That way it's safer. But yeah, you just get a big group of Scourge and then charge. And you repeat
Charge.
until shards die.
Charge.
So I put her in A, same as Dehaka.
Do you agree, Stixbender?
Yeah, I think A makes sense. I actually, ironically, still think it's like, well, you can use P1, but I'd still actually ironically recommend P3 or something, because then you have easier base defense while you continue to run Scourge around. Either way, you're going to be using Scourge to kill shards. It's just that maybe you will decide you want more easy base defense because your Scourge are already good enough as is. Depends on how you want to do it. Either way, it's not prestige dependent. You don't need prestige to function as Zagara, basically.
All right. I'm a little sad that we didn't mention bio launchers. So wait, now I have. There we go. Zeratul.
Yay! You mentioned bio launchers for us. Thank you, CTG. You have contributed greatly.
Zeratul, where do we have him?
You can snipe shards pretty infinitely with the power of Magic Photon Cannon plus Angry Invisible Dude. If you want, you can use Zeratul to snipe all the detection. He can do it quite easily. He's very tanky. And then you can just kill the shard with Dark Templar. If you want to just use Cannon's Good, you can just use Cannon's Good. It works. Yeah. Basically, front door, but good. Probably not Stetmann Tychus good, so probably A.
Tutu, did you mine?
No.
Well, yeah, of course you don't need to mine to beat this, but
you don't need to mine to beat this.
Of course you don't need to mine to beat this. You just need to actually be quite good with Zeratul.
You just spin and things die. But if you build stuff, then it's mass cannons. It's definitely safer because if they die, they don't actually die. And if you get nuked, you get nuked. Like a part of the area gets nuked. Part of the cannons get nuked. But then there's still more that continue shooting.
But wait, there's more.
Yeah. So I put him in S because he's so strong. Because yeah, P3 is actually really good here. Since you only need to control one unit, you can dodge everything with B, and then you have mass cannons for defense plus offense.
So what's the order of clearing this with Zeratul, Herald of the Void?
I don't remember. I think I did. I don't think the order matters. Oh wait. The order does matter if you want to be in position for the attack waves. So I think I killed the two close ones, and then I killed the 12:30 wave, and then the top one, and then I killed the left one, and then I all in for the last one.
Okay, does that convince you, Stixbender?
I think that you are no. That just convinces me of how much it's how the complexity of trying to, the map knowledge involved in trying to do this with no mining. So no mining is not a valid argument for saying Zeratul is good. I think that it basically is going to come down to, I guess, if we're really confident in the ability of people watching this list to be able to micro Zeratul, then sure he can be S, but you really have to not mess up your micro of Zeratul for this to work. But okay.
I'm not saying that they have to not mine either. I'm just saying if you can do all this without mining, imagine what he can do if he mines.
I think that whether you mine or not, your hero unit is going to be the core of your strength. And if you can't if you don't know how to Zeratul micro well enough to actually get value out of your hero unit instead of he just dies, then mining or not, you're going to have significantly more trouble than the S tier commanders.
I actually agree with Stixbender's reasoning, but I still think he's S because Zeratul's cannon's low.
Isn't this map one where detection is minimal? You can easily snipe the detectors that come in, and you have
it's a bit weird for detection. Detection is relatively thin at the outset, but it also is the map where The reason you get the problem with oracles in your mineral lines because this map is the map where it's like the amount of detection Amon sends whenever a cloaked unit does anything is a lot, but the amount of innate detection isn't that much, basically. If that makes any sense.
So S or A?
Well, it's not unanimous. Well,
Oh well, I was thinking S also, but A is fine. A is not bad. A is really good. There we go. That is our tier list for this week. So,
Poor slug.
ranking. Who's the best among the S? One of the Protoss ones?
they're good in different ways. The easiest one without like any knowledge of the game would be like Stetmann or Tychus, because you don't need to know where the shards are. You're just gonna play normally.
Oh yeah,
you don't need to know the
that's
exact
fair.
locations and timings. You just play normally.
So Tychus number 1?
That would be Statman number 1. Statman would definitely be easier than Tychus.
Okay. Then Tychus number 2.
I guess so.
Okay.
And the other 3 are probably in the right order, let's be honest.
You think so? I would agree actually. For A.
Well,
Karax
Karax
and
first, that's obvious.
Yeah, Karax and Zeratul.
Yeah.
And then
I think Nova would be bottom.
I think so too. Nova's bottom.
Yeah, I think so.
Like, yeah, Dehaka above Zagara for defense. Defense is better.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, this works. This makes sense.
Okay, now for the B guys.
Kerrigan top.
Oh. I think Fenix should be fine here also because of how expendable your army is. You can just keep sending.
I don't think
with the second prestige.
I don't think your army is expandable unless you're making your life awkward by using P2.
You think?
I think you're making your life difficult if you use P2.
You think not prestige is better?
I think P1 is better. You would play like Han Horner. You go in with a strong Dragoon suit, clear everything, and then control your army, dodging nukes.
Okay. So Phoenix actually like mid or something. So second is that makes Swann second, I think, because rates are pretty good.
Yeah.
Swann second.
Swann's lead in call down is strong. It's pretty strong.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then
Han Horner.
Han and Horner. I think
it's Han Horner and Swann. If you're using the Wraith or Air strategy, you're doing similar things. You're leading in with a call down.
I think I like the Raynor strategy of just waiting for Hyperion cooldowns while banking more and more Banshees.
How long does that take?
As long as your macro can hold. I don't know.
I mean, like, you gotta, I guess, do something in the meantime.
Without the prestige and with masteries, I think the Hyperion is around something like 5 minutes or 4, which is enough for every shard, I think.
I see why Banshees are good, but why wouldn't you just make battlecruisers so they can help the Hyperion?
That's also viable.
Yeah, I would say use battlecruisers. The point is you just make air units.
Okay, so is Phoenix below Han and Horner and Raynor for this one?
I think so.
Yeah,
front door versus back door.
Okay.
I think Jimmy's above Han and Horner.
I think so too. So is Alarak third?
No, I think Jimmy's above Alarak and Han and Horner is probably above Alarak.
Wow, Han and Horner above Alarak. Stukov's bottom?
I guess Stukov's bottom.
Interesting. I don't think he's even that bad. It's just that this mutation's so easy. My goodness. Poor Abathur. I was like, easy? What?
Like all the people in B can do something to the first shard with their call downs or units, whereas Abathur kind of doesn't have anything.
Sad slug noises. Okay, now for the fun part. Commander synergy.
Wow.
This is so easy. I don't think it's necessary, but
Yeah, but if you have
I
Nova,
mean-
if you have Nova P3 and Swann laser, that's
you're
almost
really gonna.
unbeatable, right?
I have no
Uh,
idea why Swann plus Nova is a particular synergy. I'm going to be honest with you.
Because Nova Infiltration Specialist gives vision for the laser drill. All
It's
you have to do is-
slowly killing the laser instead of just double nuking it with like Artanis
Does-
Minx.
Does double well. I'm not saying it's better. It's just easier. Well, yeah. I guess nukes are also really easy, but I guess most commanders would, or most players would also have Artanis, and a lot of players like Arcturus, but I still think we should probably think of other commanders who can just not be S, but by virtue of, come on, this is co-op, not solo op.
The problem is this mutation is solo op.
It's so easy. It's like
No, not because it's easy,
not.
but because in general, any strategy where two commanders are actually working together on the same shard instead of just using their particular shard snipe to delete that one shard and the other commander takes the next shard is going to have significantly more chance of something going wrong. And there's very little direct synergy between any of the sniping methods. Aside
yeah,
from maybe like Stetmann and Nova with Hugs Overload plus Defense Drone on your Corruptors and Liberators so that they're even more unkillable, I guess.
Yeah.
That's like the only thing that really comes
You
to
can
mind that has
actually
similar enough
hurt-
for them to actually have synergy with each other.
If you try to snipe two shards at once, you might actually hurt the other one because like the shard gets full shields and then it might not die.
Unless you snipe at the exact same time. This happened to me before. Me and my ally both killed the shard at the exact same time, and they both died.
That is a 16th of a second window.
Yes, I thought it was pretty
That's-
cool. I
That
want
is
to
pretty
try.
cool.
I want
Don't
to
go
try.
for that
And,
though.
I want to try and replicate that at some point because that wasn't on video. I want to catch that on video and see. Yeah, and have people see it so there's video evidence. It's pretty cool. I'm trying to look at these commanders and see if there's, I don't know, something to work with as the synergy.
Nova and Stetmann. They have similar enough sniping style of unit that has a whole bunch of shielding on it as it
Yeah.
right clicks the shard.
I
So
guess
they can both stack up their shielding on those units.
I guess Kerrigan's Omega Worms can help Stukov get mech units to the front, or
Why would you? But then Stukov, what mech units would you use?
I don't know,
Tanks?
Diamondbacks. I don't know.
Kerrigan and Tychus.
Kerrigan and
They're
Alarak.
both going through the front door
Wrathwalkers?
anyways. I would personally not prefer Wrathwalkers, honestly. I
use
think Wrathwalkers are a valid option, but like not the easiest option, but
Really?
a valid option.
I'd rather make Wrathwalkers than Ascendants because the only thing I have to worry about if I
What?
have
No,
Wrathwalkers
not
on the field, the only thing I have to worry about. Hear me out here. The only thing I have to worry about Wrathwalkers is not getting hit by nukes. Whereas with Ascendants, I have to worry about also microing the feeding Ascendant or feeding Supplicants and then microing Alarak in front. For a player like me, it simplifies my gameplay to just dodge nukes, and my Wrathwalkers are shooting the whole time. I know it's not the strongest, but it's simpler. It's easier to execute. That's all I'm
Okay, so
saying.
here's my question. Why did you think of Ascendants? Ascendants are way worse than Wrathwalkers here. Obviously, I meant Mass Void Ray.
Oh yeah, I guess that's all. But if you don't have that prestige, a lot of players don't actually have all the prestiges. I know.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
Yeah. Raynor
I would-
and
if you build like a Robo or Stargate, I would build it at the natural, and like when you're gonna attack, you just drag, click, or like put your army to hotkey 1 instead of F2, and then you can continue building Wrathwalkers or something while not risking them getting nuked on the way to like battle. So you just control your army, but you can still macro.
What I like to do sometimes, if I have a Kerrigan ally, I ask for a worm right beside my robo facility or my other production structure, so they rally directly into the worm, so I can still F2. Anyway, I guess that's enough, quote unquote, synergies. That's enough. All right, guys, watch Tutu and Stick Batter's channels. I will link them down below, and I will see you guys next time.